A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Coles Brown. Here's what's trending on this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show. SWAC football predicted order of finish. They're in. We're definitely going to talk about that. It's official. Atlanta will host the SWAC Basketball Tournament going forward. Also, we'll look at some WNBA and NBA news and notes. Our guest menu for today, July 20th. Special guest, Executive Director of the Celebration Bowl, John Grant, joins us in hour number 2. And now, with that being said, the panel, one by one, will come in. Charles Edmond, A.D. Willa Brown, and the coach Vann Pettaway. So SWAC football predicted order finish. Atlanta hosting the SWAC Basketball Tournament Championship. WNBA, NBA news and notes. Now we'll get started. We'll definitely get started as they come in one by one. Good afternoon to A.D. Willa Brown. Good morning to the coach, Coach Vann Pettaway. Good morning to Charles Edmond. Wait a minute. Breaking news. There's a cell phone. Pat Riley says he thinks Charles had something to do with the SWAC football predictions. All corn? Come on. Unbelievable. Also, another special guest, Brian Fulford, is scheduled to join us. I forgot about that. He'll join us in hour number 1. Wow, must be nice. Dr. Cavill.
Yeah, Dr. Cavill. Hey, you don't have to rub it in. You don't have to rub it in, Doc. You don't have to rub it in.
Oh, yeah. I understand, Dr. Phil. Enjoy yourself. Well, SWAC Football Media Day, let me just say this. It was just a pleasure because you see everybody via StreamYard, but to see them in person, all of my colleagues from the Black College Sports Network, Charles, Roy, everybody, it did my heart good to be able to see because I didn't travel, last year because of the health situation. But I'm back in the fold, and that was the first trip I've taken since then. And hey, it did my heart well. Also, special shout out to Avis Heath, Jackson State alum. He sent me a very touching message, and he about concern about my health and stuff. But once again, I'm doing fine. I'm a fighter. Fight to the victory. Now, with that being said, first and foremost, and we're going to put up our graphic, and unbelievable. I was totally shocked, Charles. And usually when, you have the SWAC football media day predictions, usually it's the previous Western Division winner, Eastern Division winner. Well, that didn't happen. And as Pat Riley said, something's rotten in Denmark. So with that being said, I'll kind of good morning to everyone in the chat room. I'll go last, but Pettaway. SWAC football predict auto finish in the East, and we'll grab that up for you in a minute.
Alabama State,
FAMU second, Jackson State third, Alabama A&M fourth, fifth Bethune-Cookman, sixth Mississippi Valley State. Are you shocked, or just how you feel about the predicted order finish?
Well, on the East, I think it's okay because Florida A&M, even though they're defending champions, they lost a number of players. They lost Musa, and they lost their head coach. So not picking them as repeat champions, I can see that. Alabama State came on strong last year. They had one of the best defenses in the SWAC. last year. Then you turn around and then you add Mr. Body, quarterback that can come out the field. So I can see why they out for the end. So I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
Coach Pettaway, your siren went out.
Did it?
Yeah. Well, now you're back now.
Okay, well, no, I was saying I'm okay with the East predictions because Alabama State, they had that strong defense down the stretch last year. Florida A&M does not have their coach. They don't have Musa. And when you add a quarterback to what Alabama State had, you add Bodie. I think that was right. So I'm okay with the East prediction.
Wheeler?
I would have had Jackson State in that number 1 slot. I think it's time for them to turn the corner. Alabama State, as you guys said, they had good defense. They was playing well towards the end of the year, which probably justified them going into that top slot. It's just that historically, they haven't done well. When I'm saying historically, I'm talking about the last 8-9 years or so. And so if history repeats itself, I think it puts a lot of pressure on Eddie Robinson to turn that ship around and get it where it needs to be. I would have gone with TC and Jackson State. I think he's quietly put together a very good recruiting class. Haven't heard a whole lot of fanfare or anything like that. And I think it's time for them to really turn that corner and start to meet some of those post-prime expectations. But with FAMU having a new coach, that sort of thing, I mean, I might have put them in 3rd or somewhere around in that vicinity. But, it's just, it's going to take some time to make that adjustment. As Coach Pettaway just stated, they lost some players, lost the head coach, and while they have, replaced some players, it's going to take a minute or two to get used to that new regime and, get used to doing things a new coach's way, that sort of thing. So, like I said, I probably would have gone with Jackson State in that top slot, but I'm sure those guys like being off the hot seat because that kind of takes them off the clock a little bit and kind of dampens the expectations just for a minute.
Charles?
Well, at the end of last season, I thought that Alabama State was the team, and I said this going into their last week's game last year with Prairie, that they were a team that was trending upward. I thought if they beat Prairie last year, I would have had them as the team to challenge in that Eastern Division. But they didn't win that game, and I felt like, well, I think they're not quite ready for prime time. But that was me last year. The voters, obviously, and we know who the voters are, the SIDs and the coaches believe that Alabama State is ready for prime time. You got Andrew Body at quarterback. Yes, that defense was pretty good last year, but they were also inconsistent last year. They were up and down. They lose to Miles. They beat Southern. They fumbled the all-core game away. They beat Jackson on their homecoming. Hail Mary in the Magic City. So they were kind of all over the lot last year. But obviously, the voters think that Alabama State is ready for prime time. I would have had Florida A&M by a nose. Yes, they were late in the process in getting their coach in Colsey, was on that staff. Yes, you lose Musa. You lose Musa, but then if you make the comparison, we lose Fred McNair, Cedric Thomas becomes the head coach, and we're picked to finish first. Kind of the same situation with Florida A&M. They lose their coach. Willie Simmons goes to Duke. Colsey's on the staff, promoted, and they're picked to finish second. So on the eastern side, and Dr. Cable, the AD, said it's time for that program to take the next step. And now the voters believe it's time for them to take that next step. Can they? We'll see. But it was kind of a surprise for me for Alabama State right now. of the pick to finish first, because I would have thought Florida A&M, because they kept the band together for the most part, coaching staff and all. For Jackson State, T.C. Taylor told me, he had to replace 6 coaches. I think that program, to me, just listening to T.C. Taylor, and even though the expectations are high, I think there's still a little bit more work to do. I think he may be another year away, and that may be what the coaches see, and as far as where they're picked to finish. So I am kind of surprised that Alabama State, they was picked to win the Eastern Division. I really am, because I thought at the end of the year, they had a chance to really, I think, put a stranglehold on that, coming out of last year, but they didn't. They've got new quarterbacks, QBs have transferred out. We'll see what Alabama State can do. But as Dr. Cable told me, it's time for them to take that next step. The voters obviously believe they've taken that next step, and that's why they are picked to win the Eastern Division, at least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. But Charles, you know what Bill Parcells says, right? You are what your record says you are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Everybody's 0-0 right now, and it's good for conversation. The way that they put those predictions out, it got everybody talking. I just kind of, looked the room. I know Southern players, and one in particular, defensive preseason player of the year, he looked pissed. Oh, did he look pissed? But guess what? Calm down. Because it's going to be one on the field, and that's where it went. But points well taken. It's a discussion. It did what it was supposed to do. Get everybody to talk about it. Charles, I thought about you. Yeah, they need to add another piece to this voting. Just my opinion, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I would have had FAMU number 1, Jackson State number 2, and Alabama State. Now, Andrew Body, Mr. Body, some people may think that is the missing piece that can to elevate them. We shall see. Time will tell. I think about Joe Embiid. Here's a connection. Great talent, but injury prone. And I'm hoping Body can, stay upright. Yes, that's not a dig. That's just my opinion. FAMU. Who else? Southern. They got new coaches, but they were on the staff. So they're getting them elevated. I'm missing somebody, Charles. Who else? Alcorn. He was on the staff. So it's not like they're coming from somewhere else. They're coming from the staff. They're elevated. We'll remember with that. Alabama A&M, I think the pressure, and I was running around in the room. Expectations. Even FAMU AD, expectations. I was saying it, Dr. Cable, expectations. And when we started our broadcast on the Black College Sports Network, I started off with expectations. How you deal with it. Now, coaches, they deal with the X's and O's, but the expectations are there. And another word, pressure. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, again, it's good for the conversation. I would have had it slightly different.
Yeah. I think, Carlos, not to interrupt, I think, like you said, those folks promoting from within was a plus. There's no doubt about that. But you're still first-time head coach. Mm-hmm. So the only difference is you know where the bathroom is.
And that's a good point.
And you know where some of the skeletons are. But you still are taking that next step to becoming a head coach. And there are a lot of things that you haven't been versed in that you're only going to get now that you've moved those 10 inches to that top seat. So it's going to be some things out there that's going to happen. And, it's going to be about the makeup of those particular staffs, which is why, I like you guys coach so well, because he seems to have surrounded himself, with quality people. He's not, pretending to be the smartest guy in the room. And, so have these other guys done some of the same. because I think ultimately that's going to make a difference in terms of how quickly they get through that learning curve.
Right. And Carlos, and the other reason why I was okay with Alabama State being picked, number one, with with Body coming from Texas Southern, Alabama State's offensive line that he's going to be playing behind, I think it's a step above what Texas Southern had when he was there. Now, I will say that I thought that TSU's offensive line got better down the stretch last year. But when Body got hurt, that offensive line was not together. And I think he's going into a better situation at Alabama State. And then with the way their defense played down the stretch, I could see why, they gave the slight edge to Alabama State over Florida A&M. But when you go to that West, they had to bump their doggone heads, I think. when they start looking at predictions, I think they bumped their heads. I think they bumped their heads.
I some words that I heard around at SWAC Football Media Day was shock, surprise.
Yep.
And after our first time out, we're going to look at the Western Division. But with that being said, an Alabama State defense, they're known for their defense. They lost some pieces, and one important one is that guy in the middle, Charles. Oh boy, he was a tackling machine. So, and to your point, a little bit inconsistent. So, what do you think? Chat room, I'm peeping in there. Well, yeah. Expectations, Jackson State fans, FAMU fans, they're a little tick there, to say the least, and Southern fans. But also, I heard this. I kind of like being picked fourth in the way, so we're under the radar. There's no pressure. And again, I like to compare and contrast. And you know why I say that? For 2 of the last 3 years, Southern was picked number 1. And they didn't finish well in the Western Division. They didn't. And then poor Prairie View. They just can't get a break. Defending champions.
Right.
They picked second.
But
and there we
Carlos,
go.
Let me ask you this. Why would FAMU, why would the Rattler Nation be up in arms when their best offensive player is not there this year? The signal call, the offensive coordinator, the guy that called the plays, their head coach is not there. So what would make them think that it's supposed to be business as usual? How are you going to replace Musa? That's my concern when it comes to FAMU. How do you replace a guy like that?
Well, I will say, I know Carlos Brian Fulper is supposed to join us later, but I talked with him a few weeks ago, and that was kind of my concern. But from what I'm hearing, that FAMU might be in a better place at that quarterback position with what they have. And even talking with Colsey about that at Media Day, they seem to think that they're in a really good space with the quarterback situation. I'm kind of surprised, again, if Florida A&M had a hire outside of the Beltway, if it wasn't someone that was on that staff, I think that people in Rattler Nation probably would be happy with where they are. But I think because of the fact that Colsey was on that staff, he knows what it's about working under Willie Simmons. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably where it's a little bit testy in terms of where they were picked. Because again, like I said earlier, Alcorn was kind of in the same boat. Fred, and again, I mean, I know we might have to go to a break, but for us, I think because of the fact that last year we were in control of the division until the last 2 weeks of the regular season, we lose to Texas Southern, one of the biggest upsets maybe in the history of SWAC football, because that was a huge upset. We beat Jackson at the end.
I called it, Charles. I called it.
You sure did. You sure did. You were dead spot on. I mean, I think we all were anticipating it to be one-sided, and it turned out to be one-sided the other way. But I think because of the fact that Sid Thomas was on that staff, our defense was respectable, being the DC last year, and I think that's probably what the voters are looking at. But as an Alcorn, as me being Alcorn, I'm happy. But Cedric Thomas, when you talk to him, he's shocked. He was shocked as heck when he saw that.
He should be.
Yeah, he was shocked, and I think a lot of people were surprised at that. And look, for Prairie View, you talk to Coach McDowell, he doesn't care. Hey, pick us fifth. It doesn't matter. We want to stay under the radar. We want to stay quiet. We won 2 out of the last 3 Western Division titles. Just let the play on the field speak. And that's kind of where Prairie View is. And they got a very favorable schedule this year. They got TSU at home for the Labor Day, Alcorn at home, I think Southern at home. But they were in that position 2 years ago, and they let it get away. But, for Prairie View, I think they're good with where they are. They're just going to let their play on the field do the talking for them instead of what these predicted order of finishes tell us.
As we see, the West Division, Alcorn State, 112 points, Prairie View A&M 104. Second place, Grambling State. Wow, really? 72 points. Fourth place, Southern University, 70 points. Arkansas Pine Bluff, 61. And then Texas Southern, last, 40 points. I'll be honest with you. I would have had Texas Southern ahead of UAPB. And I would have had Southern ahead of at least Grambling State University. Prairie View A&M, again, defending Western Division champions. FAMU, defending Eastern Division champions. But I'll tell you what, we're going to have Brian Fulford very shortly after this time out. FAMU's cupboard is not bare.
No.
Not bare at all. Mm-hmm. And, 27 transfers. Yeah, FBS transfers. From a talent-wise, they're loaded. Yeah. But what's the theme of this segment? It will still be played on the field.
You got to play the game.
And we'll compare and contrast. At the end of the season, let's see how those prognosticators, Willa Brown, Vann, Pettaway, Charles, and yours truly, let's see how close we were or how far away we were. Let the games begin. We'll take a quick time out. Brian Fulford will join us next. Mr. ONG himself, the beautiful colors, some will say, of the orange green. He'll join us next. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
You see, I'm a fair fellow. Great job, Mel. I was wondering if that was going to be played.
Good
Brian,
morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's
Good
up,
morning.
Brian? What's up?
Good morning, Brian. It was great seeing you in Birmingham SWAC Football Media Day. But welcome to the Carlos Brown Show.
Same. Good morning, guys. Good seeing you as well, Carlos. Good seeing you, Charles. Good to see everybody this morning or afternoon if you're on the East Coast like me.
You know, I was tempted when I saw the sign once I got into Birmingham because I drove there in my best time of a little bit under 5 hours. And I saw the sign say Huntsville.
Yep.
It'd have been nice to just take that. What Coach Pettaway, another 30 minutes?
No.
Minutes?
Ooh.
Hour and a half.
Oh, well, hour for me because I got to but I thought about you. It's a great drive. It's a great drive.
I'm
there.
recovering, so I couldn't make that trip. I can't go 15 minutes right now in the car. So, but it's getting better. It's getting better. I had total knee replacement. I know you didn't tell everybody, but yeah, I had total knee replacement, and it's coming along. It's coming along.
Yes, sir. Hang in there. You're a fighter.
Yeah.
As well. Brian, Coach Pettaway said he would not have had FAMU number one. I would. But you made a great point on our broadcast when you look at the quarterbacks coming back. Most of the teams in this conference, they're going to be bringing in new quarterbacks with very little experience. Share your thoughts on that again.
Well, it's funny. I don't disagree with Coach because I actually, I was going from the standpoint of thinking like the voters. So, and of course, we believe the voters are SIDs and coaches.
Yes,
that's what we're told. That's what we're told. I always question and wonder, but I kind of felt like they would not predict FAMU number one. I'm not surprised that Alabama State is one, although I thought it might come between Alabama State and Jackson State because both have returning coaches, and Jackson State actually has the returning quarterback, or at least who I believe will be week one starter. And they've got two very good running backs. Heck, one of them was even called a Heisman candidate. So, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm thinking if anybody would be – so I thought FAMU would have come in third. And if anybody would have been upset by the voting, it's not the FAMU folks. It's the Jackson State folks who, came in third and only got 2 first-place votes. So, but in general, when you talk about the quarterbacks, we have Miles Crawley, of course, is one of the primary, 2 returners, if you count him and Jacobian over at Jackson State. Then you've got a couple other guys who have kind of, they played some snaps, but no one like in previous years, where in previous years we've had cemented starters who played more than 3/4 of the season, put up some pretty decent numbers. So I'm just really surprised. Well, I'm not surprised, but I think it sets up for a real interesting first month of the season to see which quarterback starts to separate himself, because there are going to be some quarterback situations where people are going to be quickly wanting to make a change at quarterback if their team and quarterback do not look well or look good in the first 2 to 3 weeks. Even though, yes, they're going to be playing some paycheck games early on, but you at least want to see some good quarterback play. And if some guys aren't looking good early on, fans, and we know how fans can be, fans will want to change real quick before SWAC play starts in October.
Well, guys, it's interesting because kind of just briefly looking at the schedules, I don't know how much it will tell us if, for example, Alcorn, they're playing up the first 2 weeks. Jackson State playing up. Southern plays me stay on the road. That is going to be very interesting because that is a quote-unquote peer FCS school. Alabama A&M playing up. Now, I don't want to get into a discussion of, because the conference play is important. We get that. We understand that. But quarterback play, I agree, Brian. The first 3 or 4 weeks, the month of September, it'll tell us what we need to know. And also, with that being said, on the offensive side, I think which defense, because I think they're pretty solid across the board in the conference. They may have to step it up and lead the way early on. Anybody agree or disagree with that?
Oh, I totally agree. I think, you talked about our situation. I mean, Cedric Thomas has told us, he said in the spring, Tyler Macon, the Missouri transfer, will be our starting quarterback come a Thursday night, late August against UAB. He is our quarterback. No other coach that I talked to was able to confirm who their quarterback's going to be. Let the competition commence in the summer and in the fall. But Ced Thomas says Tyler Macon's going to get that football when we kick it off, and he's going to be our quarterback. And I think because of the fact that he's had some limited play, he was using a Wildcat last year, had the 75-yard run against USM. We know he's dynamic running the football. In terms of him slinging the ball down the field, we'll see how that translates. But I think our defense, these first couple of weeks against UAB and Vanderbilt, are going to have to stand tall as we get our new continuity with our new offensive coordinator and Coach Gales and our new OC with Tyler Macon and the pieces that we have. So I think that's going to be the story. I think for Florida A&M, even though you got Colsey, who's been on that staff, how that offense look with a new quarterback per se. So I think it's going to be, an interesting dynamic in terms of how the defenses step up for some of these other programs, including Florida A&M.
We're finally going to see Tyler Macon, huh? Finally.
Yeah.
The hype is real. I was told all last year, this guy, this transfer, Tyler Macon, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it kind of went.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, okay, let's go.
Hey, Brian, I agree. I agree because here we go. He's very athletic. Check the box.
Yeah.
But I was kind of gauging the temperature in the room, and I was talking to this one gentleman. When it boils down to it, which quarterback can stand in there and make the throw on a crucial 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6?
Aaron Allen.
A quarterback that can't. Well, yeah, but everybody wanted to.
Oh yeah.
As their quarterback now, but guess what? Fans, hey, they have their favorite. The backup quarterback, Willa, is the most
Always.
popular guy on the team. But can you stand in there and make that throw? Athleticism, you get it. Sometimes you want to just take off and run. Go through your progressions. But I was talking to this gentleman, and that's what he said. That's what he wants to see of all of the quarterbacks that will be starting for the first time or, with little experience, managing the game, Brian. Don't feel like you have to win the game by yourself. But anyway, go ahead, gentlemen.
Yeah, but Brian, I want to know, why do the FAMU Nation, you lose Coach Simmons, who was the play caller, you lose Musa, who was the best QB in the SWAC last year. Why do you all feel that that's not going to matter? I thought what Coach Simmons did in terms of managing games and calling plays was the real reason why you all were successful last year.
Well, I think the thing that gives Rattler Nation confidence is the culture and the program that Coach Simmons built and has left. That is why Rattler Nation was so adamant about the new coach coming from within the program instead of coming from outside the program. Okay. And so coming from inside the program, James Colsey, who had been on the staff the last couple of seasons, well-liked, well-respected. I think he came away with a lot of positive marks from different people in the media that I've heard from in the days since media day. The new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator were the next man up. They were the sort of, obviously we know Coach Simmons called the plays, but Joe Henry was right there as the offensive coordinator, but really he was the offensive line coach. And so now he moves into the role as the OC. Milton Patterson was the number 2 behind Ryan Smith, the former defensive coordinator. So there's a lot of consistency from not only now our head coach and our 2 offensive coordinators, plus the special teams coach comes back. There and the new coaches who come in are coaches who are going to learn the system and that has been created. So yes, we have a lot of returnees, but we do also have a nice core of players. Yes, the offensive player and defensive player of the year are gone, but we have actually almost our entire or a returning offensive line group. I think 4 who started, and the 5th who's probably going to started the year before. He was hurt by injury. Running backs, key running backs coming back. It's Florida. You know, we got receivers all day. So receivers aren't going, and you know, not too many people are hurt about receivers. Defensive backs are solid. You know, the defensive front is where, yes, you're going to have to wait to see, you know. But I think what gives Rattler Nation confidence is the culture that Coach Simmons built and the people who are elevated up into those key roles. And when you have that from a championship winning program and team, that you can't help but have confidence. And to answer the question from earlier, will we have a better quarterback? This is what I'll say. One of the 2 quarterbacks in the room threw a completion percentage of 65% last year. Go look through the SWAC. Did anybody throw anywhere close to 65% last year? Maybe not. Maybe even the year before did anybody. No, I'm sure I forgot. Shedeur was in the conference. So post Shedeur Sanders, has anybody thrown close to 65% or better? I don't think so. So I think if the quarterback who I think will be QB1 at some point, whether it be week 1 or week 2, if he becomes the quarterback, I think FAMU is going to really soar. Not to take anything away from the young man who is sort of the he was quarterback 2 or 3 last year, but I just think the young man Daniel Richardson, who is a transfer in, who's thrown for something like 6,000 yards in his career. I mean, he's played games, he's won games, been in big situations at the FBS level. I'm excited to see what he can do. So that's all the crazy reasons why we have confidence.
But you know, to your point, now I had just said it. The quarterback that can stand in there, and by the way, that completion percentage is outstanding.
Yep.
To be able to stand in there and make the throws and manage the game, that's what I look at. So all the new quarterbacks, with the help of their OCs, that is something I think that they should look at. If we can we well, let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back, the other big news, it's official. Atlanta will host a SWAC basketball tournament. And also next year it's going to expand to 10. And the year after that, oh my goodness, it's going to be everybody coming into the basketball tournament. Cheerleaders, will they get a team? Will trainers get a team? I've had I shared my thoughts on that. We'll get Brian's thoughts on that. You know, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you're going to support it. You know, you give your opinion why I think, you know, it should stay or should 10 to 12. But at the end of the day, I'm going to get behind it. And so it'll be all 12 teams. But we'll take a timeout. When we come back, it'll be more of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Charles, we got to get you to that stadium. I know that's one of your benchmarks. You got to get in there. Maybe Alcorn State gets an invite to come play across town. Then we'll have to
No, sir. Mississippi State, USM, and I think Ole Miss coming up in a few years. But this year we got Vanderbilt and we got UAB. Looking forward to those.
It won't be that atmosphere what you just saw.
You are right about that
on that video.
Sounds like a winnable game. Sounds like a winnable game against Vanderbilt. Now, come on now.
And the high school band they're gonna put on the field. The high school band Vanderbilt gonna put on the field. They gonna love the praise.
Oh no! I'm pulling for them, but it's gonna be tough. Boy, the first 2 weeks it's gonna be tough. But a beautiful stadium, UAB. I saw when it was the finishing touches were put on there. Quickly, shout out to our colleagues. A happy birthday to Carter Kelvin and Sonia Stamps. Happy birthday to both. I know they're enjoying themselves. Maybe they're in the Bahamas, like Dr. Pavia. Boy, you gotta love it. It's official. Atlanta will host a SWAC basketball tournament. Got the release. Here's a quote from Dr. Charles McClellan. We're extremely excited to host upcoming men's and women's basketball tournaments in the city of Atlanta. The Atlanta Fulton County Recreation Authority has been a tremendous partner in working with us to make the relocation of our basketball tournaments a reality. And then it goes on to say Atlanta is one of the top tourist destinations in the country, hosting their tournaments. It will undoubtedly give our fans and supporters a wide variety of travel options and lodging. And also, it will be in the Gateway Center Arena in College Park. state-of-the-art 5,000-seat venue located in Metro Atlanta's South Side, a few minutes from downtown the Atlanta via the MARTA. Well, you know what? That 5,000-seat arena, that's perfect to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
not in a 20,000-seat arena, not in a 15,000-seat arena. The ambiance should be good. And now let the games begin. Brian, you're a guest. What do you think?
Love it. Love it. I mean, anytime the SWAC can be in their unofficial headquarters of Atlanta, Georgia, I think it's a beautiful thing. And I'm just curious, Coach Pettaway and Charles, you guys, and obviously AD Brown, has the SWAC tournament, I'm going to get in trouble if I say this, have they ever had a championship game with more or close to 5,000 people? I'm just asking. I'm wondering because when I look at the attendance from the last few years in Birmingham, didn't seem like it was close to 5,000.
Hey, Charles. Now I want to say when we played Bama State for the championship, now in Birmingham, we were close to 5, but we were playing in a much larger arena.
Yeah,
but we were at the BJC. But we had 5,000 people in there. And it was on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But in terms of the ambiance, Brian, you're right. It couldn't be in a better place. Putting a 5,000-seat arena. That reminds me of what we played out in Dallas. That arena was the right size. So I think going to Atlanta, expanding our footprint of the SWAC into the Atlanta area, I think it's great. I think it'll be great. And then having 10 teams this year and then all 12 next year, from a coaching aspect, that's great for the athletes. They have all of your peers in one spot for that tournament. You've been fighting all year, and now you get a chance to see each other fight it out for that tournament championship. So I think it's okay. And I'm looking forward to it. And I think Atlanta's going to draw some other people. So I think you'll have the crowd.
Mm-hmm. And what I like about it, I reference it like football championship in Houston, large city. I said next to so many different alumni. I see that.
Carlos, your audio is going in and out.
Okay. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was saying I was referencing that in the SWAC football championship a few years back, sitting in the crowd, you were you're sitting next to a lot of different alumni from the institutions in the conference, and I think you'll see that as well in Atlanta. But the ambiance, a 5,000-seat arena, that is perfect. Now, in particular, I'm going to take a shot here. When you eventually have all 12 teams, and both on the women's and men's side, you should have a better crowd, a solid crowd. I look for it to be close to capacity, at least by a year or two.
Yeah. Well, Brian, you can help me with this now. That the rumor was that the tournament was going to be at the home of the Atlanta Dream. That was the rumor, but obviously this is Georgia Tech's arena. Is this where the tournament's going to be?
No,
I thought it was at the Dreams Arena.
No, is right. The Gateway is not
okay.
Georgia Tech.
Okay, it is.
Yeah, Gateway is not Georgia Tech.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
Yeah, the Gateway Center Arena. Yeah, in College Park.
Okay, I didn't know because when that was what got me, College Park. So when I think of College Park, I'm thinking Georgia Tech automatically. So that's kind of where I put it together. For me, it's wherever the tournament is. We've been as far west as Dallas, Houston. Now we're on the eastern side of it. I think all of our schools have decent alumni bases in Atlanta. I know for Alcorn, we have our national alumni meeting there every few years, and it's been a big turnout. I think most of our schools have good alumni bases, solid in Atlanta. So hopefully we can draw on our alumni bases, come tournament time to even get more folks in there. So I'm hoping that Atlanta is the place. But I'm also looking, guys, at the fact that the basketball tournament is there. You got the MEAC SWAC, you got the Celebration Bowl, the baseball tournament is now in Atlanta. Now the basketball tournament is in Atlanta. So we're going to see this Atlanta presence and the SWAC, can they commingle together, and will it be a great partnership between the SWAC, the city of Atlanta, and the fans in Atlanta? That's kind of what I'm looking for next.
Yeah. Well, you got to support it, man. Time will tell. But it's set. SWAC men's and women's basketball tournament set to be held in Atlanta. And yes, Charles, the Gateway Center Arena is the official home of the Atlanta Dream and the Atlanta Hawks G League team, the College Park Skyhawks.
Okay.
Boy, so that's exciting. Now, Brian, let me ask you, since you're a guest, I know what Wheeler, I know what Van Pettaway, and I know what Charles got their thoughts on that. The SWAC basketball tournament, and don't straddle the fence, Brian. Good trouble is here. If you get in trouble, it's good trouble. SWAC basketball tournament. As is, 10 or 12. What would be your choice if you could just wave a magic wand?
As is. Look, I'm one of those people who I even question having a tournament because I want the best team from a yes, I'm one of those people. I want the best team that goes through the regular season to go to the NCAA tournament. Why? Because it's a one bid league. And I wish more one bid leagues would stop playing these tournaments for television and run the risk of their third, fourth, or maybe the fifth best team getting into the tournament and taking away chances of winning against one of the power 4 or 5. I don't know what it is in basketball. So that's me. But and I don't think it would take away from the whole March Madness thing. In fact, I think it would increase. Just think, if the best team out of the SWAC, MEAC, I don't know, give me some other one big leagues. If the best teams, which are usually teams that are putting up some pretty good numbers record-wise, if those teams are going to the tournament against a mid-level SEC or ACC team, you bet your bottom dollar there's going to be some upsets. But when the 16 seed goes to play, I don't know, the 15 seed, or 1 or 2 seed, is there really a chance of an upset? I mean, a 0.2% chance, yes. But so I'm one of those people. So with that said, I know that's not realistic because everybody wants the kids to have a great experience. I say give me the 8-team league and leave it alone. Give me 8 teams.
Brian, you've said a mouthful.
I think you wind up getting the best team at that particular time. You know, if it's a 15th, if it's the last seed and they go on a hot run, they've earned that slot in terms of hopefully being able to go to the NCAAs. So, if you're the first place team throughout the season and then you're going into the tournament, the expectation is for you to continue to exhibit why you were the first place team during the regular season. And if you're not able to turn it up come tournament time, then my question is, do you really deserve to go in the first place?
Well, they did in the regular season.
That's just a thought.
Oh, wait a minute, they did in the regular season.
This is going to be blasphemous on the Carlos Brown show. But last year was the best women's basketball team, Southern's women basketball team. Were they the best team in the SWAC 2 years ago? I think not. The best team was Jackson State. They proved it for like 18, 19 straight games. Guess what? They ran into a team that had a good night because that's basketball. Coach knows this. This is basketball. Hey, all it takes is the perfect storm. The good matchup, good shooting, a few missed free throws, a bad turnover here or there at the wrong time. Hell, I've watched my high school team lose 2 championships on a bad day, bad afternoon, bad quarter. It happens. But does that mean we weren't the best? Jackson State's women were the best team. They should have gone to the NCAA. No disrespect to Southern. I know that's blasphemous here. No. I'm just saying. So when those things happen, it's always a head scratcher. And it's like,
Well, Brian, actually, I try to be consistent, and I noticed, and I'm gonna get to Charles and Coach Pettaway. I saw Coach Pettaway expressing Charles. Me and Charles have had this debate for, for 20 years. I do believe in a one bid league. Sending the regular season champion. That's my opinion, but I know I'm in the minority on that. So, with that being said, no, that's good trouble, Brian. We put it down. I agree with you. I mean, but it is what it is, and I'm in favor of as is eight teams. And I know we've had this discussion on the show. It's about the student athlete experience, and not to shut them off. But it's kind of like when I was growing up. First place team got a trophy, and that's it. Now
Watering down, they're watering
14,
down.
Yeah,
they're watering down the tournament. Look, I think the magic of February is seeing the jockeying that goes on to get to the tournament. I think there's some magic to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Where's that magic going to be in February? We're all going to the tournament, so I mean, it is what it is. And I just think there were kids down there at the 12th, 11th seed. There's a reason why you're the 12th and 11th seeded team. A lot of things probably aren't going right, whether it be personnel or personality issues on that team. By the time you get to March 1st, guess where those kids are ready to go? Spring break. They're out. Yep. They're like, hey, we ready to go on spring break. Oh, you mean we got to go? We're still in this tournament. We still got to play. That's just me. Now, I'm not a Division I or even a semi-Division I student athlete, but when I think there's something to the build-up and the jockeying the last couple weeks of the regular season going into March to see who's going to fight that extra, who's going to fight hard to get into that 8 or 7 spot. And then, yes, you get to the tournament. Hey, we're playing well. Maybe we can shock the world and do what Texas Southern did a couple years ago. We knock off the 1 seed, then we go place the 2 seed, knock them out. Guess what? We're in the championship game. We're going to the tournament. I mean, there's the magic. That's, I don't know if that'll exist.
Well,
when they go to 12 teams.
All of this has come about because the student athletes obviously complained about, everybody not participating, that sort of thing. So, the needle would not have moved in that direction had it not been for the complaints of the student athletes.
Yeah. Will those student athletes?
We all know for the record that, I'm a proponent of keeping it as it is or going no more than 10 teams and kind of leaving it at that. And, but, you have to pretty much listen to the student athletes, and there's always going to be some leaning towards doing what the student athletes want done, and this is the direct result of that. So
the student athletes of today are making decisions and influencing what's going to happen 3 years from now when they may not even be in that school or in the HBCU diaspora.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Exactly. And
crazy.
I mean, you can't make decisions based off of who's going to be there 2-3 years from now. So I mean, in 2-3 years from now, if student athletes are expressing the desire not to go, that sort of thing, then I'm sure the ADs will look at, taking the numbers back down or what have you. But it's a student athlete driven business, and what they want is pretty much going to be the order of the day as much as possible.
Well, let me say this because our very special guest is standing by. We can come back to this, but I will say this, now that it's etched in stone, will regular season champs get a bye? Would it be rewarded? We had a person in the chat room came up with a great idea. Let the bottom 2, 12 and 11, play to earn that right. But will it be a double bye? Will a regular season champ be rewarded? Will the run up be rewarded? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. But
well, Carlos, can I quickly answer Brian's question? I think the most synergy that I've seen as far as the SWAC tournament over the last few years is when you had the top 4 seeds host a first round tournament game. I thought that was a really, really good thing because that you're playing your first round tournament game at home. Now you got to make that trip to Birmingham. But I thought as far as the synergy, the enthusiasm, even student athletes looking at standings. I mean, I talk to our players, and my guess is I don't know how many players look at the standings these days. I know the coaches kind of peek at it a little bit, but I don't even know if the players just really take a look at the standings unless they're playing for a regular season championship and the coaches are pushing to keep fighting hard to win that regular season. But other than that, I don't know if the student athletes really look at standings, as far as that is concerned. And this year, 2 are not going to make it. Next year, like you said, it won't matter because all teams are in. So I think that's something else that you got to look at. How, if you go back, the synergy for the SWAC tournament when you can host that first round game, how much play and how much enthusiasm was there for fans when you can go and watch a first round tournament game at home?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how they work the dynamics of this. I don't think it'll be in that format playing at home the top 4 seeds, but I could be wrong. We got to take a break. We'll revisit this. A very special guest, Executive Director of the Celebration Bowl, John Grant, is standing by. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll visit with John Grant. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Special guest, Executive Director of the Celebration Bowl, John Grant. John, good afternoon. I see Willa Brown, the North Carolina A&T alumnus, like Mr. Grant. It was great seeing you at the 2024 SWAC Football Media Day. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Carlos. I'm delighted to be here with you guys. I've been listening to you all morning. So interesting conversations, and I'm delighted to be a part of it.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Well, folks, Mr. Grant gave me a lecture, a good lecture, by the way, about the Celebration Bowl and the moving of the date. And so, with that being said, I said, let me invite him on and hear it straight from the source. The details behind moving the date of the Celebration Bowl. John, talk about that and going into that decision.
Well, a lecture, I'm not sure if I call it that, Carlos. I've had that conversation with you and had it certainly with
It was
Charles.
a good lecture.
I try to keep it more like in terms of being educating folks in terms of the because I've been listening. There's a lot of information, some misinformation, some of it correct, but we all know that there's quite a bit of change happening in college football this year, and I don't think we're going to be seeing the end of it. After 2026, but we're going from college football went from 4 to 12 teams, which means that there are 8 additional games added, and they announced last year, even before it was finalized, it was sort of indicated that the date that the first round would occur was going to be in the 3rd week of December. So we all sort of saw that coming. But added to that was also the NFL with their expansion expanded into the Saturday of on the 3rd week of December. And so you went from what was initially just a Saturday that was focused on college bowl games to now adding what would have been 5 additional games to a date that already had 7 games. And we all know that when you're talking about the if you're looking at college football, the CFP is the NFL of college football. So there was no question about it when the days were announced, and it was beginning to look that that date was going to be cleared for the playoffs. And so with that being said, we had the opportunity. I don't never look at things as negative. I look at, God always works. Sometimes when you don't know he's working. You just have to be, open to what is occurring. And in that case, we did an evaluation in terms of the steps we took, looking at venue availability, because we are in an NFL stadium. And so we had to, and that stadium has a lot of events. I mean, there are a lot of things that happen. Most people don't know that during the week of the Celebration Bowl, starting on that Sunday before, from Sunday to Wednesday, Georgia high school football has the venue. So we take it over literally on that Thursday at Thursday morning, midnight, to start prepping and converting the stadium over to the Celebration Bowl. So with that being said, looking at options, venue availability, we sort of secure with the venue what their dates were. Then you go to and then dates. So we looked at dates and other options. Do you go Friday because CFP had a game on Friday as well, Friday night. So they have one on Friday, and they have 3 on Saturday. So if we went to Friday, we'd have to go at 11 a.m. Well, that's not going to work.
No.
It's not for us and our fans. So, you just start going down the list, you're scratching things off. Do you move on Christmas Eve or the day after Christmas? Well, we know that's not going to work. So you scratch another dates off. You look to early January, and that's like January 2nd or 3rd. Well, that doesn't work because you got the college, you got the Chick-fil-A bowl game, which is one of the CFP games, and the stadium's not available. So you can't go earlier in that same week because I just mentioned the stadium's not available because of Georgia high school football. So now that puts you going to a week earlier. And we were fortunate in that the stadium was available on that Saturday, the 14th, because of and I have to take my hats off and give a little moment here, thanks to the Falcons, because we were looking at this back in January and back in February, March, and fortunately the NFL schedule had not come out yet, and we sort of made our request. Whether it had anything to do, I'm not sure, but I'll give them the credit if it did, that they have an away game that weekend. So it's fortunate they were scheduled away. The venue was available, and when you look at the factors around it, gentlemen, the only other game on that day was the Army-Navy game, which is at 3:30 on CBS. So it just, when you looking at the logic and what made sense, and what the availability was, just based on the facts, it made, that was the available opportunity for us to schedule the game. And then you look at what are the benefits. Well, the benefits are it puts us back in the position of being opening the bowl season, because that's a position we had lost. There was games now previously being played on Friday. There were on last year. There was a bowl game that came on at 11. We were at 12. The NFL was at 1:30, so we got sandwiched in between another bowl game and the NFL, and that affected our viewership by close to over 400,000 plus viewers. That's a lot of viewers when you are looking at. So even though that impact occurred, we still had really good numbers, but it wasn't the numbers that we have been accustomed to seeing for the bowl game. So it puts us back into the opening the season, which our game has to be that. We don't want to be in the mix, really, of once the bowl season starts, and we're in the mix of bowls, because I can tell you, when you look at the data, you look at the numbers, you look at the study, all the viewership. Once you get past that first date and you get down into the season, the numbers just decline, and they do. So being first, and then the other benefit we get is on that Saturday college game day, that's their last show until the college football championship. So that's the last show for them, and then they come back again to do the championship game. So we get that show, as we know, biggest show for college football is from 9 until noon. And they have broadcast, and will continue to broadcast from the Army-Navy game. But guess what? Because we're now a noon game, we're opening bowl season. What are they going to talk about? They didn't talk about bowls during the, they might touch on it a little bit, but very, very rarely. Major focus was on, they would talk some CFP stuff, but now we are in a position where we can get the benefit of the college game day audience as a lead-in to us. We get which is going to, without question, help our viewership. And so when you add all the factors together and what our responsibility is, and I'm not talking about ESPN, I'm talking about all of us who love, support, and are connected to HBCU football and this bowl game. Our responsibility is to protect that enterprise. It is our Super Bowl. And if we don't make the decisions that are the right decisions to protect the enterprise, we don't want this to be a Heritage Bowl. That because we chose not to do the right thing, Heritage Bowl went away on its 9th year. Let me repeat that. The Heritage Bowl lasted 9 years. It went away after the 9th year. That is history that we do not want to repeat. And history we're not going to repeat. And so, that was the decision-making process. As a part of that process, we also reached out to coaches that had played in the bowl game, who had coached the game. because we were going in that direction, but we want to make sure we had the input from all corners. And we also, had conversations with our conference partners, the SWAC and the MEAC, to just say, hey, walk through the exercise just like I walked through it with you. This is the options we have. And if we're going to continue to have an enterprise that's going to generate and create a revenue stream for our conferences and for their member institutions, then we got to make the decisions that's best to protect the enterprise, and that's what we did. That's what we did, and I say we did collectively. Now, ultimately, once we go through that, then we have to communicate to our partners and say, this is what's left, and this is what we have to do to also. I failed to mention, gentlemen, we need to also protect the ABC broadcast network, because you don't want to end up on the ESPN2. Not that it's bad, but you don't want to be there after having been on ABC.
Well, the panel, all information presented, the options, and this is what Mr. Grant was talking to me about in the lobby. All things presented, the right choice, in my opinion, and that's why I had Mr. Grant to come on, because I think, John, you said you were watching one of the shows and we kind of talked about it, but now you've given us the deep inside position of how the decision was made. And I, for one, I agree with it wholeheartedly. All of the options presented, this was the right one.
Oh, yes.
Now, what I will say, and I commend, Commissioner McClellan, with the SWAC have to make the conference as a step to say there are some things that they will have to adjust to help the arriving team, whether it's, depending on who it is, chartered flights, whatever the case may be. But we are also adjusting the schedule for the bowl week, because we want to make sure that the teams have more time rather than having events, which not just events, but things that we're gonna open up. Where on Thursday, and I can speak, Charles has been here for it, so he'll know. On Thursday, we had a series of things. The teams had about an hour or two to practice. Well, we're going to open that whole day up now. They'll have something in the morning until about 8 or 9, but then the rest of that day until that evening, they've got to, practice, do the walkthroughs, do meetings, whatever they're going to do. We don't have any event scheduled for them to give the teams the opportunity to prepare. And then, of course, on Friday, the only thing we have for the teams on Friday is their walkthrough at the stadium and media interviews. So they also have all day Friday for prep, team meetings, relax, etc. We're giving the teams every opportunity to make sure that they're rested and prepared, to play the game on Saturday.
Well, John, from the MEAC standpoint, they've got a lot of time to, rest before that game. But that is something that's going to be important for both participating teams. We're visiting with John Grant, Executive Director of Celebration Bowl. Anybody on the panel, you got a question relating to what John was just talking about? And if not, then I'll move on to my next point I want to cover.
But let me add one thing before you go in, Charles, because we hear this a lot, and I want us to stop for a second and take and really reflect back. Once the idea was, it's been said that the MEAC has more time than the SWAC. Well, let's look at the history of the games. There haven't been any blowouts in the Celebration Bowl. Each year, and again, Alcorn came year one, it came down to a play, and a goal line stand in year one. Alcorn had the ball with minutes to go on the 5-yard line. It went down to a goal line stand. The next year, it was a play call. If you recall, Charles, was it a catch? Was it not? Et cetera, et cetera. I can go through every single game. Grambling and Central. Helmet off. Penalty taken on the point after. Blocked. Grambling win. Was that because one team had more time than the other? No, you have to play the game. And I can go to every game. Jackson State and North Carolina Central. Both teams down to the wire, overtime. What was the difference? A drop pass in the end zone. Last year, ill-thrown pass by Howard. Howard came out, ill-thrown pass, Florida in and flopped their way back. Interception by Howard. By North Carolina, by FAMU against Howard. The next drive, Howard's receiver falls down. FAMU intercepts. Was that because one team had more time than the other? I'm not saying that there isn't some thought that there is, but from a general fan perspective, let's stop and take a look. This game has been one of the most closely year after year after year. Oh, and I forgot the Grambling and North Carolina A&T game came down to a trick play at the end of the game, where it was a trick play that took A&T in the end zone. So I want us to really, when we say this about having more time, coaches say that you got to play the game, and I know Coach Pettaway, you have to play the game.
Right.
On the MEAC side, when you talk to them, their coaches are saying we have too much time.
Yeah,
they do. That's what they told me. That week, because after you can only practice so much, and then they start doing other things. So just like on the SWAC side, they said we don't have enough time. On the other side, the other team saying we have too much time. So I wanted to put that out there too for us also to think about, rather than throwing out what we think the issues are. Let's look at the facts. And the facts are that the SWAC has been in this game every single year. A play this way, a bounce ball that way, and we could be having a whole different conversation.
Well, opinions versus fact, and the fact is the MEAC has won more games in the Celebration Bowl, but valid points. Still your point.
I think
very competitive.
Go ahead, Will. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, John, I think, and you've done a magnificent job with this thing. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. Go back years and years. And you guys probably don't know this, that John and I not only graduated from North Carolina A&T, we graduated the same year.
Awesome.
But, blue and gold.
all the way. But John, you've done a great job with this thing from day one, even pre Celebration Bowl days, that sort of thing. You've always been a proponent, of HBCU football, and always been a proponent of having something spectacular in the Atlanta area, that sort of thing. And I'm just proud to know you. And keep up the great work. And the complaints that you're hearing in terms of too much time, not enough time, they ain't coming from the coaches. It's coming from the fans, that sort of thing. And because the coaches just want to play the game. I mean, like you said, some say they got too much time, some say they don't have enough time. You're not going to please everybody. And the facts are what they are. At the end of the day, coaches got to get their players ready to play, and players you got to play the game, make the adjustments necessary in order to win, and do those kinds of things, and just line up and get after it. So, it is what it is on that accord. But great to see you, John. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Right, and Mr. Grant, I just want to say, I want to piggyback off of what Willa said. Continue the good work. You all have done an outstanding job. You got a first-class event. Keep doing what you guys are doing, and everything. I think in the end, the fans are going to see that this is the premier event in the nation, and you all continue to do the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Coach.
No doubt. In my opinion, it's been great. I've been to the majority of the events, and it is a event. No matter which team is there, it's been outstanding. Mr. Grant, future SWAC MEAC Challenge football games. Of course, that starts the beginning of the football season.
I'm gonna show that because that's up next.
Yeah, there you go.
well, look, John, and yeah, in my notes, I put the SWAC first and Meg. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But my alma mater, they will be coming there in 2025. But just kind of talk about the future of those SWAC MEAC challenge games.
Well, let me. I think thank you. That's a great question, and I will tell you about those, and I think we ought to frame and understand how close we were to not having this game anymore.
Wow.
And I'm probably speaking out. Maybe my ESPN colleagues might be a little, but you got to speak truth to power. This game was started in 2005 in Birmingham, Alabama, and then we moved it to ESPN did. I say we, but ESPN moved it to Orlando, where it was for a number of years, as you all well know. As a matter of fact, Carlos, I was in Orlando when Southern played Delaware State.
Mm-hmm.
And all the fans were on Southern side, and I think I could probably use two hands and count how many were on the Delaware State side, huddled up under because it was hot as all get out.
Yeah,
they were huddled up under the shade. Great. That was my first time attending and seeing it. But to tell you that once we moved it out, the Celebration Bowl, Cricket Celebration Bowl started in 2015. And the reality was, and I'll call it to the level of attention and focus and all that to this game. A lot of the attention went to the bowl game, and I'll say that both inside ESPN as well as the attention of the public. So that game that we played in Baton Rouge, South Carolina State and Southern, which was won by a drop pass in the end zone, if you recall that game.
Oh, yeah. Oh my. Yeah. Oh.
So the following year was going to be in terms of the question, the conversation became, because look, I'm transparent. I don't have anything. The game was losing money. It was bleeding red ink. And we were, so the conversations were, do we keep it? The game was started initially to give HBCUs a bowl experience in the beginning of the season, but it was at the beginning of the season because at that time. So it was set up just like a bowl game. They come in early, 3 or 4 days of activities, events, etc., all of those things. Well, now you have the Celebration Bowl, and the question was, do you need that? And after the game in 2017, which was in Baton Rouge, the conversation became serious. And but we said, look, rather in talking to the conference commissioners, Commissioner Thomas, and it was Dewar Sharp at the time, was like, look, we went to ESPN and said, look, let us move the game to Atlanta. Give us a chance in Atlanta. If we don't turn it around in 3 years, do what you have to do. One thing you don't ever do is give up TV time. You do whatever you can to hold on, because the time doesn't go away. Who's in that time may change, but the time is the time. So whether the MEAC SWAC Challenge was in that slot, if it went away, there'd be another game put in that slot that was not going to be HBCU. And let's be transparent about it. It wasn't going to be. We moved it here. Did not create anything unique. The Chick-fil-A, the Peach Bowl, and the Chick-fil-A would had the kickoff game that they had Labor Day weekend, and they had the bowl game. And I had a number of conversations with Gary Stoken, who ran that, who runs that event, president of Peach Bowl Inc., in terms of how it worked. And it worked. If it works for them, it can work for us. So moving it here, we were fortunate because at this stadium behind me, Georgia State, in 2018, the MEAC SWAC Challenge was the first game held in their venue. They were still building out some spaces, but we were the first football game there, and it fit the model for us for that game. Hooking it together, we can say now going from what I'll call life support, to this year, being a part of ESPN's Saturday Night College Football Live on ABC, and being in week 0 and opening the entire, college football season, not just HBCU, but all of college football open on Saturday night in prime time on a major network. I think speaks volumes to how fans have rallied, how you all in the media have continued to support and talk about it, how our sponsors have come to the table because we're able to package them together, meaning you can't sponsor the Celebration Bowl unless you're sponsoring this game as well, and that has worked well. And as you can see by looking at this one behind me, it's a success, and we're expecting that again this year with Florida A&M and Norfolk State. Really excited about that one for a number of factors that we can talk about later. But next year, when you look at future years, what it also gave us the opportunity to do, which this game had not done, was we can build out future years all the way up through to 2028. So in 2026, next year, the Jaguars are going to be here taking on the Eagles of North Carolina Central. Now, I will tell you that's a game that was requested by both sides. I don't know what the deal is there, but they're both foaming at the mouth to get to each other. And they both are talking about they can't wait to 2025, and they've been counting down since 2019. So we put this schedule together back in 2019. In 2026, we're going to have Alabama A&M and Howard. In 2027, we're going to have 2027 is Alabama State and South Carolina State. I'll call that battle at the border. The shootout at the OK Corral. This is where we are, the Earps and the Clantons. Coming to town. They're going to meet here in Georgia. 2 hours or 3 hours between. And then in 2028, we've got Jackson State with the yet to be named. We're working on that now, MEAC partner. So that's what we're looking like for the future. The good thing is, and let me tell you what's really good, that we're getting requests to be in this game. So I've Charles, your alma mater and your AD was twisting my arm down in twisting my arm down over in Birmingham for 2029, which I didn't say yes to him, but I guess I should announce it here first on this show that we're certainly going to be bringing Alcorn back, because Alcorn's last time here was in 2021 against North Carolina Central, and that was the year we had College Game Day, and our first year in week 0.
Yeah. Well, I have a question, Carlos, about, and me and Mr. Grant talked about this, and it was just an assumption of mine, and John Grant proved me wrong, that I had heard a while back that one of the goals of this game is to get exposure for all SWAC schools in this game versus all MEAC schools. But you reminded me that it's about matchups. So the matchups are more important than just grabbing two teams, one from SWAC and MEAC in this game. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I can, because when you're going to open the season, and again, this game started out being on the Sunday of Labor Day weekend. It was in 2021 because that Sunday, just like for Celebration Bowl, 3rd week in December, that Sunday got crowded. When MEAC SWAC Challenge was launched, it was the only game played on Sunday. There was no other college football. There wasn't NFL. It was the thing on Sunday. Well, as of the year we moved it, there were 8 games on that Sunday of Labor Day weekend. 8 college football games. And so the idea was to, always, God works for us, and we looked at the opportunity. What if we moved it to week 0? Our conference partners agreed, because there's a criteria if you're going to be in week 0. One, you can only have one team from from a conference, and the game must be nationally televised. That's the criteria to play in week 0. You can't just go, we're going to play. And the NCAA approves that, that you meet that criteria. And so hence we were able to get that Saturday, and from once we did that in 2021, once we did that, it exploded for us. It opened up assets that ESPN had that we could not get because of week 1. Week 1, everyone's playing, and all the major schools are playing. And if they're playing, a lot of the assets get refocused to that, and it allowed us to move off of what was at the time ESPN2. We went to ESPN in 2021, but by 2023, the ABC time slot was available to us. So last year was the first time the game played on ABC, and apparently it's highly successful because we wouldn't get it back if the numbers didn't warrant it returning and then being put in a prime time slot at 7:30.
Well, Charles, as always, and I talk in Birmingham about the eyeballs, the viewership.
Oh yeah.
That's so important. That's kind of one of the things that Mr. Grant relayed to me about, hey, you want the attendance, that's great. But also the viewership, eyes on the broadcast as well is so important. Interesting, John. I just got a text message. This is a Southern alum. Said Southern's undefeated in the SWAC MEAC Challenge.
That is true. That part is true.
Shots fired.
That is true. So that is true. The idea, and let me say this. What I mentioned to you guys before, you just sort of touched on it, and this is where all of us need to make sure we continue to evolve. In the era of broadcast media, whether you're on linear or streaming, ultimately the revenue is in that, and that you can see that all you have to do is look at what kind of deals are being done at the major level, whether it's the NFL, the NBA just struck a new multi-billion-dollar deal, and that number didn't come off of attendance. That number comes off of viewership and eyeballs. And so that's the place that we have to get. Now, attendance, let me tell you, is important. It has value. But I will tell you this. In the world of television, it has value because of cosmetics. It's the makeup. It's the makeup you're putting on because when you're televising a game, and this game you see behind me, which was last year, Jackson and South Carolina State, 7:30, at 7 o'clock p.m., broadcast on ABC. We had the full works, Skycam. There were 6 other cameras we had relative to mobile cameras up and down the sidelines, high end zone, low end zone, handhelds on the side. So the whole works are delivered, but you can't bring all of that to an empty stadium. What you have to do, and we do a number of things. We don't just, there's a formula we use to this too. One thing that we're committed to for both this game and Celebration Bowl, we want to make sure young people get to come to the game. So a part of what we do in every sponsor package we have, there are what we call community tickets. They're paid for, but they're paid for by the sponsor. And there are hundreds of those in there for them to give to community organizations. And those organizations allow us to bring Boys and Girls Clubs, some of the high school football programs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you look at this stadium, I can tell you, this is not all Jackson State and South Carolina State. Only at the Celebration Bowl, only 40%. Hear me when I tell you, 40% of our attendees come from the school, the 2 participating schools. 60% comes from everywhere else, the community, other HBCU alums, fans, et cetera, that support that. And that number is right about the same for this game.
I make a note of that. 60%.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
so it is the event.
Right.
John,
But we don't just create an event and hope that it will happen.
Right.
We have a strategy to assure that we have butts and seats, paid butts and seats. But it's a matter of if you're gonna sponsor this game, then you're gonna buy tickets for the community. And not a single partner pushes back against that. They think it's a great thing for them. Because if they're giving tickets to a community organization, guess what? It becomes a write-off for them. And it's their part of benefiting the community. And what it does for us,
right?
It puts butts into seats.
Yep.
Now that's the makeup that we're putting on I'll call it the model. You put makeup on the face. This is what it looks like. So that's the part, and I'm belaboring this, but the point of saying, hey, we're gonna put our games, and we hoping that the fans are gonna come and buy the tickets, whether it's a Saturday game or a Thursday night game. We have to take those games. If we don't, you don't give up a TV slot.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a line of people waiting to get Thursday nights. There are other conferences playing on Wednesday nights. Some on Tuesday night.
Yep.
Yeah.
And because
that conference, yep.
Their mindset is the value is in the broadcast, because they take that being in broadcast and they leverage that. The revenue opportunities come out of that, the student recruiting opportunity, because the money's in the students. The more you can recruit students, guess what? They're paying tuitions and fees and all of that. And then also the opportunity to bring other revenue in via to leverage the value of TV to your sponsors. Your sponsors get more reach. And so that's the place we've got to go. And I'm going to commend Commissioner McClellan. I commend him because I believe, in my mind, he hasn't said this. This is just my observation, my opinion. I think him sitting on that NCAA basketball selection committee has been, and is going to be a big boom for the SWAC. He got to sit on the inside and see how it works. He got a chance to participate and understand how these models work. Hence, the SWAC Digital Network. Hence, every football game that SWAC has is being broadcast. There is a reason for that. And it's not just because it's cute to be on TV. He understands the value and the power of having those games broadcast to drive revenue to his member institutions. And the sponsors are the ones that are excited about it. It's more exposure for them, and they're willing to pay for that. So
that is strong.
I may have gone over my time, but I think
this is good.
This is
outstanding.
So you guys can spread the word and educate people. And my plea is that you don't just talk about this when I'm off the show and it's gone. It's something that we have to, even if is to remind people of. I heard you talking a moment ago about the basketball tournament. Do you know that every other major conference has every school playing in their basketball tournament? You want to know why that is? Content opportunities for TV. Content opportunities to drive revenue. The SWAC he's doing the right thing. He's doing the right thing because now he's got more content that he can broadcast by also giving greater exposure to the SWAC institutions, and then turning around at that point and leveraging that back in revenue. And if you're a member of school, I'm telling everybody, hey, tune in on this date, including my partners, and say, look, take a look at and leverage your visibility on TV to revenue back for your institutions. That's a part of the strategy, not just the SWAC by themselves, but the schools have to take their individual part in that. And I can tell you without question, it works. It works. What I'm saying to you is sitting on the inside, it works. And pay attention to why the expansion is taking place. why CFP is expanding from 4 to 12. It's going to go to 16.
That's interesting, John. I never thought of it that way. I'm glad you put that point out there, because although I did say, I liked as is, I wasn't for the 12 team expansion, but ultimately I did say I was going to support it. So, but I'm glad you brought that point up. I didn't think of it that way. See, Charles, you're never too old to learn.
So going to including all the teams in the basketball tournament is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do because it gives the conference more content for broadcast, which that's where the money is over there.
Excellent point. Excellent point. I'm now looking at it at a different way. John, could is it possible to take one question?
Yes, absolutely.
From the chat room?
I'm here as long as you guys need me.
Okay. Let's see. I had one. Oh, Carlos, please ask what are the payouts to the SWAC MEAC. Can you answer that one?
I don't discuss that. That's a conversation because our agreements are with the conferences, and if the conference chooses to disclose that, that'll be up to them.
Okay.
But we don't disclose that. That's a business arrangement there. Not that it's, like I want to be clear, because we're ashamed of it. It's just that I don't discuss the contracts that I have with other people.
I understood. My colleague, Dr. Cavill, when you were at the Broadcast Black College Sports Network, he mentioned about an event maybe to add on during the week of the SWAC MEAC Challenge, and I believe he talked about basketball event, a SWAC MEAC Challenge, and if I'm not mistaken, I thought you said that you guys had kind of looked into that. Where are you on that?
We have investigated. It couldn't happen during MEAC SWAC Challenge because that's too early for basketball season. But it would be early in the early basketball season window, that is late October, early November. That's when the early season games start. So we looked at something in that window. It's something that that ESPN said, hey, this is a great idea. We'd like to do it. But let's make sure. So there are a lot of other things happening in the basketball space right now for college basketball, from scheduling and all of that. So all that's going through a transition, and we didn't want to launch into this while that's taking place. We were looking at it actually for last year, but decided to give it a couple of years to let that other, everything else settle down before introducing something into it. But it is something we've looked at and very much like.
Yeah, and see, in basketball, I've always been in favor of a SWAC MEAC challenge for basketball as a tip-off. I think that's a great idea. During my days of coaching, I tried to pull it off, but we just couldn't get enough people to back it. But I think that's a great idea.
So it'll be coming. So just stay tuned. But I will tell you, it's going to be SWAC and MEAC. It's going to also include SIAC and CIAA.
CIAA. Okay.
So
yeah. Well, that's something to look forward to. John, we've taken up almost an hour, but closing comments. And once again, I appreciate you coming on and kind of giving us the inside information on the Celebration Bowl, the date moving up a week, SWAC MEAC Challenge. Closing comments for our audience.
I think, and let me first say thank you guys for having me.
You're welcome.
And having the opportunity to at least provide what I call a little bit of inside baseball. That's the next evolution for us and our institutions. Remembering that for us in the past, since we didn't have TV, we measured how big our games were by how many people were in attendance. And I will tell you that day is long past. So that where that is the only measurement you have. Your attendance is going to be cosmetic if your game is on TV. And as it stands right now, let's talk about the SWAC. With the commissioner's announcement, every game's going to be televised. So that means, attendance is important because you want the game to look good, but it's not the biggest driver for revenue. We are moving into a new dimension where the revenue channels and avenues that we have are going to be amplified significantly and changed significantly by this new by the model that's being implemented. And it's not new. The reason you're seeing the Power 5 become the Power 4 and no telling what it'll be in the future is because of the opportunities around driving more revenue. And that's what your commissioner's doing. That's what the commissioner in the MEAC is doing. That's what you're seeing in the SIAC at all of their specific levels. There are going to be more HBCU games, football games, televised this year than ever before in history. In history. So now our responsibility is, how do we monetize it? How do we the institutions monetize it at their level? And how does the conference continue to monetize it at their level? Because TV has to monetize it at its level. No one's broadcasting games because it's something good to do. This is all about economics and money. And so the more we can create available content, again, my hat's off to Charles Edmond. I keep using his name because we're all only SWAC people mainly, but he is doing the exact right thing for the long-term vision of the conference. And you're going to see the SWAC conference transform. No question in my mind, because of all of this. The SWAC of old is going to be buried. You guys are in the evolution of a new SWAC, and you, Carlos, and your guys on this show, BCSN, and all of media like you that have kept the lights on when nobody was looking, when no one was looking. You kept the lights on. And you are going to be seeing, and the fans will see, the benefit of the work that you have done, the work that you can continue to do, because now you're going to have more to talk about. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for all your listeners. I appreciate them staying with us. And thank you for all the fans who believe in what we're all trying to do. And one final thing, and I'll go. The Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge and the Cricket Celebration Bowl are without question the two largest, what I'll call, total live audience events in the HBCU space. Both games being on network television. But with that being said, because those games exist, it made every other game during the season have another level of significance. They've been elevated. So if you're looking at the Magic City Classic, sure, A&M wants to beat State. State wants to be an A&M. But now I want to beat you for more than just bragging rights. I want to beat you because I'm trying to get to Atlanta. I'm trying to get to the SWAC championship. That's where you're trying to get. I'm trying to get to the SWAC championship so I can have a shot at Atlanta. If I'm Grambling playing Southern in the Bayou Classic, it's great to have bragging rights, but I want to get to the SWAC championship for a shot to get to Atlanta. So I'm playing you for two reasons. I want to beat you, for bragging rights, but I got to beat you if I'm going to get to the SWAC championship. So every game now during the season has that elevated level of significance. Every coach knows that. Our fans need to see that as well as they watch games throughout the season and know that there's now somewhere to go. And where you're trying to go is to the championship so you can get a shot to Atlanta.
That's simply why, Charles, you know what's coming. Atlanta or bust. Mr. Grant, they always get on me about saying that. Well, expectation. Atlanta or bust.
You're correct.
On that note,
if you're not playing to go to the Super Bowl, why are you playing?
Right.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you, and it was a pleasure having you on and talking with you in Birmingham, and it all makes
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, John.
Okay.
We've got about 3 minutes left, and hey, you know, I learned some things.
Right, and Carlos, I learned this too. He needs to package what he's talking about and that business model. These ADs in this league, they need that for putting butts in the seat. That you know, for these Thursday games, these games that have not been well attended, they need to do that. And that's my closing statement. Yep.
Less than we got a 3 minute butts in the seat, but you know, I want my cake and eat it too. Butts in the seat. I want eyeballs.
Right.
And watching, and you know, being from South Louisiana, I guess I'm just greedy. I want to. WNBA quickly. He kind of touched on a big media deal, but now the WNBA union says they're still not. They're still devalued. We'll get into that next week, and also I understand, Pat. Quit texting me. I'm going to talk to you. I think he's kind of upset, but anyway, we'll save the video for that dunk in the summer league. The dunk that's in the top 5, I think.
Yeah.
Overall, quickly, give me a 30-second closeout. Coach Pettaway.
This has been a very enlightening day. I really enjoyed the info that Mr. Hunt was able to give us, and I'm just ready to go, man. I'm ready to see whose predictions are going to be true when it comes to these preseason predictions.
Charles,
looking forward to a great season. Let the games commence.
Yep.
Wheeler.
Great show today, Carlos. John Grant did a great job in terms of coming in and enlightening the fan base, that sort of thing. And we know SWAC preseason ain't worth a darn. At the end of the day, you got to play the game. So as somebody just said, it might have been Charles, let the games begin.
And I'll quickly, on a serious note, I'm going to go away from sports. Please Google Project 2025 and look at what is happening. And when you look at it, you'll see that it is simply a mental wartime. You got to get it done. I want to thank Melanie, all of our guests, John Grant, Brian Fulford, Coach Vann Pettaway, Charles Edmond, A.D. Willer Brown, and you in the chat room. That's right, Mr. Carey. Happy birthday. I got that in as well. On that note, stay tuned next week at 11 a.m. for another edition at Central Standard Time for another edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, as always, peace and God bless.